Life is pain. Oblivion alone yields peace. You call me stranger. I call myself salvation.
The love of a god is not a blessing, it's a scar.
If destiny herself beckons me, then I shall greet her like an old lover.
There's gotta be more to life than making mistakes and making up for your mistakes.
I'm the paragon of risk and reward. Behaving is more of a suggestion.
Fate is an offer I intend to reject.
You don't know me. I'm unpredictable, bitch.
I don't need to be a paragon to help save the world.
I came back for a reason, and I am not stopping until I find it.
I will solve the cataclysm, and I'll solve the mystery of myself, too. 4 paragons, 4 keepers, 1 stranger. Huh. Odds are in our favor. Now let's go save Endake.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Arc 8, Episode 5 of Transplanar RPGs, The Second Stranger. I am your game master and executive producer, Connie. My pronouns are they, he, and she. You can find me all across the internet at by Connie Chong. And The Second Stranger is, of course, Transplanar RPGs, all-transgender, POC-led, dark fantasy D&D show set in an original, non-colonial, anti-orientalist world. I'm going to pass along introductions up and over to Austin.
Hi! Hello! It's funny, hi, I'm Austin, my pronouns are he, they, she, and I can't do intros. I play Abiku Ishtar, whose pronouns are she, they, and also probably could not do an intro if she was asked to. I'm gonna give it to Valiant Dorian, who's really good at doing intros.
That you know that it is a fucking lie, but sure. Hello, everybody. I am Valiant Love Wins Dorian. That is a threat and a promise. I use he and his pronouns. And tonight, I have the distinct pleasure of playing Voska, our resident Love Wins Sitlali, who uses she, they pronouns. I'm going to pass introductions over to Dare.
Hi, I'm Dare, legally and illegally. Pronouns, she, they, they. I'm playing the ever lovely gentle, pronouns they, them, someone who's done nothing wrong. Words are fine today. We're all doing well and good. Things will be great. I'm going to throw it over to Erica now before I say more bad words.
Hi there, I'm Erica, she, her pronouns, and I play Vasanti Nakshurzo, also she, her pronouns, your resident sorcerer, and is doing so incredibly well right now. You can find me at Erica Please, where I stream here on Twitch, and come check it out sometime. I'm going to pass it on to Quinn.
Hi, hello, I'm Quinn, and my pronouns are they, them, and I today will be playing Citlalli Thornheart, who uses they, she pronouns, and wants to know what everyone's current HP is at as soon as we start the session, and I'm going to pass it to Max.
Hey, I'm Max. My pronouns are they, them. I play Dewey, he, him, and you can find me on the internet at Starchmonger. I'm going to pass things to Helmna.
Yes, hello, my name is Hamna. I use any and all pronouns, and today I'll be playing John Godler, who uses they, he pronouns, who is a monster. Fun times. I'm going to pass it over to C.
Hi, everyone. My name is Cia. I use they, them pronouns. That's my problem right over there to the left or right or wherever it is on the overlay. You can find me making very trans, very gay art on the internet, Pie Sharp Art. And tonight I'm playing your very favorite, very trans, very gay, Oka who's the paragon of causing problems on purpose. Connie? Or rather, Valiant Dorian, would you like to give us our sponsorship pitch for today?
Yes, I, Valiant Dorian, will be very, very happy to do the Valiant Dorian thing of the sponsorship tonight. Hello, everyone. We are proud to announce that this episode of The Second Stranger is sponsored by Dimitri Opines and Explain Trade, a negotiation skills training consultancy believing in the power of D&D and Transplanar's potential to grow, tell great stories, and lift our communities up. Explain Trade trains negotiators for governments, big companies, NGOs, and offers e-learning courses for individuals looking to get a better deal from their boss. Unionize, please. Check them out at explaintrade.com. Erica, we've got a bunch of other folks to thank, don't we, tonight?
Yeah, we love to at this time to thank those who are our Patreon paragons. These are the folks who have donated at the highest tier on our Patreon, and for that we thank you so much. Those folks are Alex, Ozra, Brooke Bright, Charles, Chalakras, Cora Eckert, Emma, Hat, Conding, Lex Slater, Purple Mouse, Scruffusus, and Target. Thank you so very much. And now, Quinn, please remind Grandma Erica what's happened last time.
All right, Grandma Erica, hold on to your pants. Last time on The Second Stranger, Oblivion begins the final battle for Endake and all of reality. No big deal. Jaran attempts to accept keepership, but his soul is too far gone, and they start to become an empty monster. Who could have foreseen this problem happening? Blows are exchanged as Voska and Gentle take on Oblivion head-on. I can read. Dewey flies Kane to safety and connects with Dusty, and Citlalli reaches out to Lilith. Abiku, still in the dream realm, please wake up, reunites with her ancestors and the real Dr. Aluso, who gives her important information about Oblivion. But the countdown is on, and the battle has begun. Use the exclamation point recap command in chat to reach our full written recap document. Now, C, can you tell us what content warnings we can expect to encounter tonight?
Yeah, absolutely, I can, because there are multiple. Hello, everyone. Content warnings for this episode include fantasy violence, apocalypse, trauma and grief, depictions of war, body horror, monsters and monstrosity, gore, blood and bloodletting, death of loved ones, complex and complicated relationships, romance and references to sexual entanglements, and eldritch abominations, aka Jaran Cotter. Use content exclamation point content warning in chat to get a look at our lines and veils to know this is actually not correct. Use exclamation point CW in chat to look at our content warnings, and exclamation point safety to look at the cast's lines and veils to know what territory we won't get into, no matter how dark things get. Connie, it's all you now. Take it away, I guess.
Thank you. Wow, what a cursed introduction. I wonder if that's going to set a precedent for what's going to happen this session. So everybody now, please, one and all, make your fate rolls, which is going to be a straight or rather a gay D20 with no modifiers. No modifiers. Let's go down the line, starting with Jaran. What'd you get?
Sorry, I didn't even roll it yet. 6.
Yikes. Okay, a 6 from Jaran. Gentle.
The famously lucky number 13.
13, not bad. Citlalli.
18, baby.
Ooh, 18. Dewey.
Just 8.
Ooh, an 8. Got Jar LLC coming in hot with the sub-10s. Vasanti.
11.
Barely scraping by. Voska.
18, just like Citlalli, and I think that's gay of us.
That is the soul mages have arrived. Oka.
Also a 6. I hate that I'm matching, but also a 6.
Matching with Jaran. And Abiku.
Hi, I'm doing my best. Natural 20. Everyone get on. Plenty of room on the back.
Abiku leading the charge. That makes sense. Wonderful. Okay, so after our fate rolls are done, we can just put that to the side right now. Don't worry about it too much. Moving on to the title of this episode. The title of this episode is Thank You for Coming, from Eulogy for a Dying World by Connie Chong. And the full verse reads as follows. One last gamble, they say. Mouth brimming with dead cards. One last play, one last turn, one last prestige to set the stage on fire. Don't you know the best part of any magic trick is the ending? The curtains are silk and they are closing. They are draped around her shoulders and she is counting the minutes until the finale. Each grain of sand, every tick of the second hand against the brass rungs. Thank you for coming. It was a wild ride, wasn't it? Take your jackets at the door. The missus and I have a death to discuss. The lights harden, dim, close, like the last bar on the last street in the last world. The stage is the only thing left. Just the stage, just the tape, just the embrace and the touch. The hands on your hip, the lips in your hair. Heads or tails, darling. Let's bet on the end of all things. I'll go first to spare you. You'll go first to spare me. We'll go together, and nothing will be spared. At the top of round 3, during the concert for the end of the world, Oblivion turns in the air, their hair resplendent, their eyes piercing, their skin thrumming power. In the shattered, crimson sky that consumes the horizon, her eyes grow dull, quiet, still. It feels as though every strand of power has been pulled from the monstrous corneas dwarfing the horizon and threaded into Oblivion's soul. Does Oblivion even have a soul? What an interesting question. Let's find out. But first, a rearrangement of spotlights is in order, isn't it? Everyone except Abiku, please re-roll initiative. All right, let's start with Jaran.
13.
13. Gentle.
19.
19 from Gentle. Citlalli.
23.
23. Dewey.
Also 23.
Ooh, also 23. Vasanti.
22.
22. Voska.
Also a 22.
What the heck? Oka.
18.
18. Beautiful. So, our highest is a 23. So, Citlalli and Dewey, what are your base dexterity scores?
Theirs is higher.
Okay, cool. So, Dewey would go first. So, actually, before Dewey goes, we're actually gonna hold on the battlefield. Because it is at this exact moment, while Oblivion is humming with power, while the battlefield bristles with monsters and beasts and screaming soldiers, while paragons and keepers alike stagger from grievous injuries and even more grievous morale, it is at this exact moment that the ancestors arrive. Bleeding into existence across the arena are dozens, hundreds, thousands of spirits from Andake's ancient past, the Titans. Ghostly forms of a people who lived and died as warriors explode onto the battlefield, their mouths and throats brimming with battle cries from a long-forgotten past. These Titans collide immediately in an onslaught against the strangers' forces, swinging spectral weapons, casting spectral spells, their blades passing harmlessly through Andakan allies, but cleaving with deadly force into the bodies of empty beasts. And even the shortest of these Titans stand well over 7 feet, the majority of them clearing 8, 9, 10, even 12 feet in stature. And a few of them, a dozen, several dozen, explode into even bigger forms as these ancestral spirits shift. And we see massive, gigantic mages pile-driving hammers the size of towers into the flanks of face stealers, knocking them clear across the battlefield. A draconic mage, all tufted fur and spiraling antlers, slams into a hydra flare, smashing the beast out of existence, tearing it limb from limb from limb. Several gigantic mages pile onto a single entropic beast, this shimmering leviathan of the oil of Mahu, and slam it onto the ground in a literal clash of titans. But that's not all. Echoing across this battlefield, harmonizing perfectly with the Titans' ancient battle cries, is the song of Tungal, the last vestige of magic from deep within the chasm, welling up, up, up into Andakan reality. And this song takes physical form as it weaves through the battlefield, lifting the spirits of all who hear its courageous, invigorating harmony. It is a sunbeam piercing the clouds of a dark night sky. It is a hand outstretched for a soldier laid low. It is hope at the bottom of a well. Fortune smiles, my friends, and now each of you gain the second boon. As grief, courage, and love from the memory of Tungal's song surges through your souls, all of you regain full health. All of you.
Except
I'm
Jaran,
looking
right?
at Jaran. Yeah, except Jaran, actually. Except Jaran in this. Except Jaran in this form. I don't know if boons apply to empty beasts. So, except Jaran in this form. We'll get to that in a second. I think while this is happening, as this melody and harmony is weaving its way tangibly over the battlefield, washing over your bodies, stitching up wounds, erasing bruises, like, I think blood crumbles into dust, like, off of your bodies, your own blood, right? And scorch marks just also crumble into nothingness. As this is happening, the door to Dalapati Saeed's farmhouse slams open, and on the threshold we see Shrini, Wooming, Halo, and Abiku awake. Abiku, why don't you please roll initiative to join the fight?
24.
24? Abiku, you're up first. What do you do?
I need to find Dewey. I need to find the smartest person I know, and that is Dewey Cork.
You cast your gaze across this battlefield. It's chaos. It's chaos. And Abiku, I think your blood, the still blood, starts pumping, right? As your soul, if not your heart, begins to thrum with energy. It's like this ancestral magic is like singing through your heart as well, singing through your spirit, singing through your soul, your ghost that is piloting your body. You look around and like, it's sort of like a hazy, kind of shaky like camera as we swing around from your perspective. We see on one side of the battlefield, this huge entropic beast being laid low by these gigantic titans. On another side of the battlefield, an entire battalion of like several dozen soldiers are like hewing and clawing and slashing their way through these like shock troops of empty beast infantry, basically. And you see your friends scattered amongst this battlefield in various positions, like fighting for their lives. You see Jaran, as like a huge kind of twisted empty beast having clashed with Oka, who seems to be shrinking down to their size right now. And you also see floating above it all, Oblivion and Gentle. You see Dewey at the periphery of the clash between Jaran and Oka . They are next to Kane, and huddled maybe a couple dozen feet away at the edge of the stage are Lilith and Citlalli. What do you do?
I think, point of order, is real Dr. O with me?
No.
Okay.
The real Dr. O that you saw in the vault seemed to be their soul or their consciousness. Their body is floating above you.
Heard. Just wanted to make sure before I just like left them sitting there. I think I would Kishuni and be like, I will, it's time to go to work. And I will start running over towards Dewey.
Yeah, Shrini kisses you back, nods, smiles at you, and as she turns, as she steps forward, you see her stepping into her full draconic form. Like one step, and then she's huge. Like she's stepping into becoming this gigantic draconic mage, right? Like exploding, ballooning upward in a pillar of scales, fur, and antlers. And you turn toward Dewey. I think you're able to make it to Dewey's side, like on your turn if you want with your speed.
Yes. Dewey, hi, hello. Sorry I am late to the work party. So I learned a lot, and I'm doing my best to remember it all, and you're the smartest person here, and I think you could do what we need to with this information, because you barely got it. I was in the dream plane. I found Dr. Aluso. They are, well, part of them is okay. The part of them that's there was okay. And they said, while they had been Oblivion, that like Oblivion is like sad because magic and fortune, are those the two presets? Anyway, magic and fate, that's their name. Fate, sorry. They starts with an F. Magic and fate didn't give Oblivion a job. They just, they made this whole existence thing, and they're like, an Oblivion kick rocks, who cares? And so Oblivion is sad and alone and wants to be included. And I don't know what to do with that, but that seems important.
Oblivion sad. Got it. Make Oblivion. How do we make Oblivion happy?
I don't know, but they can make things because they made Dr. Aluso, because Dr. Aluso did not exist before. So maybe if we talk to, I don't know if Fate and Magic came or not, but if they show up and we can be like, they could make something for Dr. Lucy called it the journey, then maybe they won't destroy everything.
So, okay. So we have to make something on par with this journey created by 2 precepts.
Yeah. Or ask them to change it, because like Oblivion has tried to get help to change it, but then they accidentally kill people and then they get more sad, and then they try again, and then other people are just afraid of them because they're always just the bad guy. So maybe if we can find something for him to do that doesn't make him a bad guy.
Okay. I'll relay this to
Is everything okay? The others. What is? I missed a lot.
You learned all of this in your power nap?
Yes.
You are incredible.
Oh, thank you.
Oh no, Duck and Dewey, I think. I think pulls Abiku down as something was flying over her head.
I love that. Actually, Abiku, as your defense roll, why don't you make me either a dex or a con saving throw?
You got it, boss. I will choose dexterity. I made the correct choice. That is a 22.
22. Okay. So, Dewey, as you pull Abiku down, I think it's this like huge, hulking umbral specter, right? The grave digger that has this huge cloak of shadow drawn over its hunched form, and its shovel that it's holding in like one hand, I think scythes across the battlefield as it's almost like a fucking Elden Ring boss. It's huge. It just like pummels in like a single swing, and I think you're like dragging Abiku down, right? And Abiku, like both of you don't get hit by like the top of the spade that's like as wide across as maybe a train, but you do feel like the gust of wind cutting over the top of your head, thrumming with entropic energy. So Abiku, you're gonna take a little bit of damage with that save. You're gonna take 70 points of necrotic damage as this like void magic just washes over the top of your head.
Can I do my thing to resist that?
Yeah. What is that? Cool. What do you do?
Reflective resistance, where I can make myself resistant to the damage for that instance.
Okay, so that's going to be 35 points of necrotic damage instead.
That sounds more reasonable.
Yeah, if it's okay with you, I think we feel and see this ancestral magic weaving almost like a gelatinous carapace over your body of just song and melody as it takes like some of that damage off of you, as some of it just bounces away from your soul.
Yeah. Abiku will sit down for a second.
I love that. I think actually that's a smooth transition down to Dewey. So Dewey, as you're hunched down, I think Kane is also hunched down, like their hair kind of going just like haywire all over their shoulders, right? Like their eyes are wide as that shovel passes overhead. What do you do?
I think I see in the distance this Jaran question mark and Oka question mark thing going down. And before I set out to do this journey altering move, I guess I'm going to grab Kane and maybe like swoop down and drop them off, because that seems like an important place for them to be at this moment. Just like grabbing them and throwing them over his back.
Like a sack of potatoes? I love that. Okay.
He can't be that heavy.
You hoist them up and you throw them over your shoulder. They're a little shell-shocked from the shovel, from Abiku arriving, all this lore drop, and then they sort of shake their head as you begin to flap your way across the battlefield toward Jaran and Oka, and they're going, Cardu, Dewey, I can misty step, I don't need, this is outrageous. And they're sort of like thrashing a little bit, like kind of embarrassed.
Then do it.
They poof away off of your shoulder, and they appear at the edge of the perimeter between Oka and Jaran.
And then I think Dewey sort of crash lands. He rolls a little bit as he hits the ground, and then finds a place to shelter, and then uses information overload again on himself to contact Dusty and ask about this journey.
Okay, yeah, make an Arcana check. Arcana or religion. Or history, I'll let you choose.
23.
You're trying to open a link to Dusty and like get in their mind and like talk to them, right? Okay, with a 23, You tell me, is the link extremely temporary or is it extremely unstable?
Give me that unstable.
Okay, I knew you'd pick that. Damn it, I don't even know why I give you these false choices. Okay, as you open up your brain to the weird, to the everything, to the nothing, the anything, and the something, it's just like it was earlier. It's an information overload. I think we see your pupils blow wide and like fill with starlight and whirling cosmos and atomic breakdowns and black holes collapsing and dwarf planets expanding into nothingness, into oblivion, into everything, and then you're back in that room. You're still sitting there. You are Dusty. Dusty is you. The woman has left the room. You're just alone in here, just 4 white walls. But this time, Dusty feels you, and you feel Dusty. You're sharing consciousness. And you sort of see on one side of your eye, the battlefield bleeding back in, and on the other side of your eye, like the white room bleeding in, like 2 images superimposing themselves over each other. And when Dusty/you say, huh? You hear it coming out of both of your mouths.
The journey.
The journey.
What is this journey?
This journey. And you feel something brimming on Dusty's mouth, and they can't push it out unless you say it with them too. Dad? It is this?
You?
You? The
journey?
Journey. What was meh? And Dewey, at that juncture, you feel a sharp spike of pain stab down through your consciousness as, like, being both out there and in here is, like, ripping your soul apart. And Galtanger's doing everything she can to, like, hold on to both sides. So I need you to make a Constitution save.
30.
13 or 30?
30.
30, that's good. Galtanger, I think the fact that you're talking to your sword son is rooting you, and you sort of shrug off the pain, but some of it does still pierce through. You're gonna take 35 points of psychic damage as that spike just drives through your cranium. But that spike of pain, ironically enough, I think clarifies you. And then you can hear Dusty speaking in full sentences without dragging you along, I think like a V in the wake of a speedboat. And you hear Dusty say, the journey, Dad, was made by fate and magic, and I'm waiting here for them, but one of them is late or something. They don't really run on time. Speaking of which, I met Time. They're a very weird person. What's happening? I can kind of see 2 places at once. Dad, is this hurting you?
It's all right. You're doing great.
Okay, what do you need to know from me? It's starting to hurt me too. I don't think I can hold on to this for very long.
How do we change all of existence that is journey?
And your sword son, who is not 7 months old, pauses there in the waiting room, in the perceptual waiting room, and says, Gods, Dad, I don't know. I guess we just ask.
Ask whom?
Them. The precepts. The precepts that made all of this in the first place. Boom. The connection breaks, it snaps, and you stagger back into your own body, Dewey, reeling from that. And now we're gonna cut across the battlefield to Citlalli.
Okay, so Citlalli is with Lilith. Lilith is theoretically possibly going to be on our side soon, ? Lilith needs the faux god jar?
The faux forge, yes.
Okay.
Her eyes are like fixed on that clash between Jaran and Oka. Specifically, she's looking at Jaran. Specifically at like the mother's blood eking out of their pores, their huge jaws, their gnashing teeth, their eyes brimming open on every section of their skin. Something about mother's blood seems to be that final component to help her isolate her raw nerve.
And I think as they're moving, Citlalli just kind of goes, "You need Mother's blessing? How fortuitous, we need it gone." And I think shoots a message to Dewey, who can hopefully perceive it in this moment, that just says, "I need Foforge. Trust me on this. It's important." And I think while waiting on a response for that, if it's cool, cast message to Gentle, who is still in the air, that just says, "Moonbeam, we don't have much time, and we need to not be punching Oblivion. So, darling, if you could just not, and also maybe give me some cover here, because I am being eaten alive and also trying to convert Lilith to our side. So it's a lot. Also, have you seen Mercy?" And then I think they are just moving and covering Lilith as much as they can. And also they are vaguely looking for Mercy. Because they have not seen Mercy this entire time.
Okay, let's go to Dewey's message first. Dewey, as you're reeling, I think, from the spike, still deviating pain in little bright, radiant fractals across your mind's eye, you hear Citlalli's voice beam in, almost like a soothing, if slightly anxious, salve across like that pain just shattering across your consciousness, and you hear their request for Foforge. I think just with a reaction, you can toss it over to them or like respond to them somehow.
I go, "Are you sure?"
110%.
And he tosses Foforge over to Citlalli.
I love it. Citlalli, you could just catch Foforge in the air, right? It sort of hurdles this perfect arc across this like blood-strewn, ash-strewn battlefield and boop, lands perfectly in your outstretched hands. And then the next message, I think, pings over to Gentle, and you hear Citlalli's request. How do you respond?
That was a lot of things at once. Cover you, got it. In terms of Mercy, I can try to, I have an idea. And similar to what I did in Davatati at the conference, where I use a key point to make my voice extra loud, there has to be like some sort of call that like the hounds have.
Is it a howl?
It is. Yes. Just the biggest awoo.
I love that. Gentle, do you peel away from Oblivion? I assume you're gonna continue that on your turn, but like I assume you're gonna follow what Citlalli requests, right?
Yes. Incredible.
Wonderful.
And because I have the mobile shoot, I don't take any attacks of opportunity.
That's true. Oh, I love that. As you start to turn and you let out this howl, Citlalli, you hear it cutting across the battlefield, and I'll give you advantage on your perception check to find Mercy.
28.
28. As this across the battlefield, as Gentle's howl breaks across the horizon, you hear Bud howling in response, and then you hear another howl on like the other side of the stage from like a deep-throated kind of like raspy, cracked roar. Mercy's voice. And you hear her howling in response, and I think your eyes lock on her. She's swinging her greatsword, slashing down no fewer than like 7 or 8 different empty beasts that are her size. She's just like a whirlwind of death and violence. And she's fighting side by side with Squeak. And Squeak is like riding on her shoulders and is reaching into her pouch and throwing out this like menagerie of magic from this bag of holding at her hip. It comes out in these lambent plumes of dust and then turn into howling, swirling gouts of flame. Also like ghostly wolves and like spears of ice. Just all kinds of random magic that she's just grabbed from all across Endake, and she's just throwing it out in like a haywire mishmash.
I think Citlalli shoots a message to, I love that Citlalli has message now. It's so much faster than sending, and it doesn't have a word count. Just shoots a message to Mercy of like, give him hell, babe.
And I think across the battlefield, she turns and sees you, and she has this bloody grin on her face, like one eye crinkled, the other one still obscured under her eye patch, and you hear her say back, "That was a lot faster than usual. I mean, mind message-wise, and you hear Squeak cut in, like she's also picked up a phone on this like conference call, and she goes, "You're distracting us, Citlalli, but thanks." And there's like a whirlwind of flame as Squeak throws out like a firewall and like blasts like 5 of the empty beasts away from them.
Squeak, we're gonna talk about the weave when we're done with this, and then they go back to protecting Lilith and trying to get them closer to Jaran and Oka.
I love that. I think in that case, your defense roll should be related to protecting Lilith. So I'll let you choose either a con save, a dex save, or a strength save. So not one of those, based on your face.
None of those are good. Can I get something based on my paladin fighting style?
Which is protection?
Interception.
Okay. I'll give you advantage. I'll give you advantage on your roll.
Okay. 20.
Natural 20?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay.
Which one is the highest? Constitution? So 23?
23, just a +3. I love that. Both a nat 20 on your defense roll, that means you take no damage at all. And you're also able to like grab like a kind of narrative boon. So I think what this means is you can just get to the fight where Kane, Jaran, and Oka is with like no added like extra turn or anything like that. And you hold your shield out and Lilith is sort of hunched over like a hollowed out husk or specter of a woman, right? As she's just like clinging, I think, onto you and you're shielding her like over the raining hellfire. And I think we cut away from you, Citlalli, and go to our next PC. Who's gonna be Vasanti?
When last we saw Vasanti, she was actually just about to fall to the ground because she had taken a major blow, but then things happen and she's healing up, so you see her starting to fall, and then she catches herself on the ground, and she can feel herself regaining her strength, getting patched up. Even the giant claws and mouth that are coming out of her stomach seem to be like at least coming back together a little bit as her body's fighting, you know, the mother's blood that now she has thanks to Jaran. She is looking at Rev, and she still has in her hand the card from Gamble, which was the lover's card, and it just continues to light up in her hand and glow up her arm. And also, like, she starts glowing like green, and I think because she's in front of her lover, Rev, I think Rev even starts to glow a little bit of like the purplish color, and that continues to glow. And for a moment, Rev feels like her eyes are playing tricks on her as she sees Vasanti sort of, it's like she's crossing her eyes, and Vasanti kind of splits in two, and then another two, so there's 4 of her as she uses the lover card to cast mirror image. So now there's 4 of her. And she's going to use that as her defense for this roll, you know. Which one's the real one? You got a 25% chance. And then, you know, mechanically she would use sorcery points because she's going to cast an actual spell now. And she's going to take a look over the battlefield and see, you know, the hordes and hordes of empty beasts running amok. And I think she's going to find an area of empty beasts that still haven't gotten addressed by all of their allies who are coming onto the battlefield. And all 4 of the Vasantis are going to raise their hand towards this particular horde and send a bright beam of light, we'll say that it's red, into the middle of this horde as she's going to cast Delayed Blast Fireball.
I love that.
Is just going to explode in that area.
So I think instead of me making dex save for that, why don't you make just a spellcasting attack roll?
Okay, well, in that case, it's a 19 still.
Oh, so close. Oh, that's too bad. Okay, so deal max damage. So what is max damage on Delayed Blast Fireball?
72 points of fire damage.
Okay. 72 points of fire damage. I think what that means is there were these titans that were pummeling oil on water, right? Which was this shimmering oil spill of an entropic beast of Mahu, kind of molded into that of like a sea serpent or a leviathan. And I think that your delayed blast explosion sets off near that fight. It not only absolutely demolishes like a platoon of chicken boys, tooth spitters, howlers, even like a face stealer is caught in the blast. They get wiped away like ash, like nothing. It also is like that final explosion that takes out that particular entropic beast. And I think it falls to the ground underneath like the snapping jaws and pummeling fists of these gigantic and draconic titans, as well as smolders into ash from the fallout of your explosion. And and that thing is dead. It's gone. And I think Rev looks at you, sees that you're like brought back to life, basically, that you're like no longer literally on the brink of death. She holds out Grim, it apparates in her hand, and she says, Vasanti, I know we have a lot to talk about and I have a lot to answer for, but there are souls on this battlefield that need reaping. That thing is preventing it. And she looks at the seed of annihilation in the stranger's massive body climbing out of the chasm. I have to do this manually, and all these people dying, they're not like us. They don't have tethers. They need me. They need the Reaper. Will you be okay here for just a minute?
Vasanti looks at her. You do what you have to do. Whatever you do, I understand.
In life and death, Vasanti, I'm yours. And she turns and ripples in this like column of black feathers and appears on like various parts of the battlefield, reaping souls from fallen soldiers, right? As well as like titanic specters crumbling into nothingness as they take one too many punches, rips, tears, gouges from various empty beasts as well. She's just blitzing all over the place, making sure their souls aren't consecrated to the empty. So at the end of your turn, I will give you advantage on either a charisma save or a dex save.
I'll take the charisma save.
Go for it.
30.
30? Jesus. Okay, yeah, I think that means you have 3 mirror images of yourself, right? I think that means only one of them is hit and you don't take any damage, right? From the fallout, as you're ducking and weaving, these like empty beasts attack your mirror images and they like weave out of the way acrobatically with this grace, like flipping and twirling and somersaulting like Vasanti does. And only one of them is piled on by, I think, like a massive face stealer and also a Hydra Flare just rampaging. And that one just poofs into nothingness. But you're fine. And so are the other 2 of your mirror images. And I think that's the end of your turn. We're gonna go now, pan across the battlefield to a kind of smoldering crater on the ground where we find Voska.
Yeah, you gotta do me dirty like that again? In this smoldering crater? Voska in this smoldering crater, body just hunched against broken stage wood. Now it's just this Voska-shaped hole on the ground. Kind of groans as she's brought back from the brink of unconsciousness and did not hear, but like witnessed that interaction between Rev and Vasanti. And she turns to the other half of risk and reward on the other side of the battlefield. She pushes herself off of the ground, picks up Parable, and if I may, Connie, because she played with the notes back in Arc 7, Voska is going to channel the Song of Tungal. And for her bonus action is going to look towards Jaran and say loudly, as she has once said to a proud Triton woman, in this game of risk and reward, let's tilt the scales. And we'll give you bardic inspiration. It is a d20. Channeling the Song of Tungal as she stands up, starts dancing, weaving Parable around on her shoulders, and Parable is just a moving instrument on its own, playing this inspirational orchestral music. And then she pulls her flute from her waist and starts playing as she looks towards Gentle, and with my action, cast Haste. As she says, we need you to move faster. And just like looks at you and just starts playing this incredible flute riff so that you're able to just start moving faster, using still the scales of the Song of Tungal to just support classy and just haste the monk. Gotta haste the monk.
Yeah, oh my god, that's deadly. I think as you fling out that bardic inspiration to Jaran, we see through your eyes like a golden thread, that relationship, that bond, that tether you have with Jaran fling out from your hand as you outstretch it. Boom. But this time the weave is imbued with magic and music. We see that thread wobble and produce a note that perfectly encapsulates Jaran's soul. It's just ding, like wavering in the exact harmonic tone that is Jaran Cotter that flings out. And then I think as you look up at Gentle, the same thing happens. A thread flies up to Gentle and it wobbles with music, with sound, with tone, with harmony, with breath. And we hear Gentle's own tone ring out and note just sort of like come out crystal clear and wrap around them, and Gentle, you feel adrenaline surging through your soul. You feel hypercharged, right? You kind of feel a little bit like you imagine Oblivion must have felt when they got pummeled by those countless infinite eye beams, right? Just supercharged, ready to take on the whole fucking world. And I think at the end of your turn, how are you trying to ward off the literal thousands of monsters?
I am literally, Connie, dancing around them because I'm using rope darts. It's not just about attacking people head on. Rope darts is about controlling the flow of the battlefield by not allowing your opponents to have space. So Voska is literally dancing, and while she's playing the flute, which is very sexy of her, like having Parable just moving around the hinges of her joints. It's effortless for her as she just allows Parable to move between potential energy to kinetic. And she's just dancing, and she's just not allowing these empty beasts to have any space while she's on the battlefield.
Fruity as hell. I'm actually gonna ask you to make both a charisma and dex save, so add your bonuses for both.
Good thing you let me do that, because I rolled a natural 5, so that is that'd be a 24 total.
24. Okay. So I think what that means is we see just this flurry of perfect offense and defense, right? As you're playing your flute, empowering your allies, your rope dart Parable swinging like too fast for any normal eye to track, as we see beast after beast after beast lunge up onto the stage and get blasted to smithereens against your perfect web of defense, I think. A couple of them make it through. There's just so many of them. And I think in the resulting splatter of mother's blood and the gnashing teeth and the couple of you who do break through your defenses, you're going to take, well, Oblivion is uber charged, so that's gonna be, I think, okay, a little bit of damage here and there, right? Like maybe like 20 points of damage here and there from splatters and cuts and bruises and whatnot, but a huge, lumbering, empty beast, I think, sort of roars and pile drives itself like onto the stage at you. It's big. It's all limbs and arms and teeth and hair and eyes and gnashing nails and claws and long rippling tails and horns, and it just barrels through you like a bulldozer, going through like a beautiful glass construction. But I think you're hit by it, but you're able to like turn and absorb the shock and like keep going. But that's gonna deal an additional 50 points of bludgeoning damage. And let's say the 20 was poison. So 70 total.
Yep, I've resisted the poison. Wee-hee!
God damn. Okay, so that's 10. So 60 total.
I'm a UNT. Baby.
The Snady, bitch. Look at me. I'm the Snady now.
I'm the Snady now.
I love that. So as Voska is twirling on stage, drawing some empty beasts to her and empowering her allies, we're actually gonna pan up to one of said empowered allies. Gentle, you are humming with adrenaline. You feel like your blood's about to burst out of your fists in the best way possible. What do you do?
Okay, so Citlalli needs help, and I can move faster than light at the moment. So I think that's an easy choice. Yeah, full on flying in dynamic entry style.
I love it. I just want to know, what's your speed right now?
Haste doubles it, right?
Yes.
140. Without dashing.
For 6 seconds? Someone quick do the math of how many MPH that is. Okay, without dashing. Gentle, you are able to fly and maneuver wherever you want to be. I think maybe you like float and touch down right next to Citlalli, if that's where you want to be.
Can I add a little bit more flavor?
Go for it. Flavor it up.
Have you ever seen Kamen Rider? Do you know what the Rider kick is?
I do not. Describe it.
It is the drop kick from heaven. It is just finding a single empty beast and just landing, hitting it smack dab with a like full-on landing slide.
Yes. Do you want to try to pummel an entropic beast, like one of the big ones, or are you going to take on a smaller fry? Yeah. Okay.
I've already taken that one. You can do the second one. Why not?
So currently menacing the battlefield, there are 6 remaining. There's the Puppet, the Nightmare, the Paradise, the Darkness, the Gravedigger, and the Stormcatcher.
The puppet sounds fun to hit.
Yeah, it's the one that taunts Voska. So it could even be at the base of the stage as Voska has just been like pile drive by that huge bulldozing beast. And as you right yourself, Voska, you see like a freaking common rider, avenging angel, gentle pile driving this beast. So I assume also make your attacks. And if you get anything by pile driving something, I'll give you advantage on your attack rolls. So you have double the chance to fish for a crit.
Okay.
The odds are pretty good, because it's a 5% chance of getting a nat 20 if you're rolling 10 dice.
Damn it. No nat 20. But no
that's
nat
good.
1 either.
That's good. Okay, so what's max damage for 5 attacks on the puppet?
90.
Okay, noted.
4
and that
attacks,
is
hand of harm, and 1 more punch. So yeah.
as you describe to me what it looks like as you like pile drive this thing.
I think it is for dramatic flair, especially because gentle like can mess with wind a little bit. I think it is sort of creating a bit of a spin around like my foot as I am like just careening in, almost like it catches fire and just hits it smack dab and like almost drags it with just sheer weight and force.
Yeah, we see this glitching, shadowy humanoid silhouette, which to you, I think looks like it glitches between the form of every single person you poisoned back in Morose, in that village. Just glitches through all of them. You recognize your friends, your family, your grandparents, peers. It just glitches. And then your wind-wrapped foot, bam, pile drives the marionette at the base of the neck and it like hits the ground and there's this massive welling of red dust and crimson pebbles just scattering across the battlefield, knocking more than a couple dozen empty beasts out of the way and crushing them under its massive umbral bulk. 90 points of damage is not quite enough to finish it off, but coming out of the smoke of the dust as this puppet tries to jerkily like yank itself back up with the lines of poetry at its joints, we see Bud. Armored Bud. Gentle, what does Bud's dog armor look like?
Oh my gosh, I think it's gold. I think it's gold and simple, honestly. There's probably like little bits of it around like the little feet that sort of look like little thread holding it together. And it is, I think, simple, clean, and elegant and meant for him to move quickly. Yeah.
I love it. If I may add, I think Bud also has a helm on, and the helm has like rubies and gems inlaid, which was Sybil's touch, because Sybil was like, we can't go too plain. So Bud rips through the air in a perfect arc, snarling and howling through the base of his throat, and rips into this thing, and is enough with like Bud's just vicious attacks to shred the last of this entropic beast into empty dust. This thing just explodes into a plume of nothingness and evaporates. And so the puppet is slain. Gentle, you drop next to Citlalli, I think, like gently onto your feet, right? You land.
Was that enough help?
I think if you allow it, Citlalli just goes in for a kiss.
Of course.
And as literal like explosions go off in the distance, right, and like blood rains from the sky and bone ash drifts across your bodies, the two of you embrace and kiss. So Gentle, empowered by Citlalli, I think, next to you, close to you in a way that you've never quite been close to them before. How are you staving off the darkness? How are you defending yourself?
I think it is pure. Just with the haste, I'm trying to be a wall of like pure speed and power, not letting anything get past like an imaginary threshold I've made.
Sounds like a deck save to me.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I'm good at those. Can I have advantage for gay?
You know what? Yes, advantage for gay and haste. That makes sense to me.
I never get to have advantage for gay. I'm so proud. Not quite a nat 20, but it is 29, so you know.
29. Okay. So close to cracking that 30. But Gentle, yeah, as you're empowered by this haste, holding Citlalli, I think you break away because you, like, your spidey senses tingle. Like, you feel the hairs on the back of your necks rise. And I think as you turn just in time to see the gravedigger pummel the point of its shovel into the ground, and you see the slain corpses of soldiers that Rev hasn't quite gotten to yet rise. We see the corpse of Endakin soldiers just like lift up off the ground, like zombified almost, and their eyes are kind of like blank, their jaws are kind of slack, and there's this clear corruption veining through their arms, mother's blood, empowering their corpses to act on Oblivion's behalf instead of Endake's. And I think these zombies literally fucking charge you. And the closest one is like 3 feet away, right? Like as you're next to Citlalli, and Lilith is also there, by the way. And I think as they charge onto you, you put up a wall of perfect defense. And you're like batting off like dozens of these zombies, like protecting Citlalli, right? Whirling, twirling, like full kung fu fucking movie. So the total amount of damage you're going to be taking from these zombies is going to be 70 points of bludgeoning. All right. So as we pan away from Gentle fighting off like a literal army of zombified Endakin soldiers, we are going to pan over to Oka.
All right. Last we left Oka, they were leaning into the empty-fied Jaran Cotter, biting the shit out of their arm. And I think as their blood connects and Oka just can feel his ribcage, can feel all of the bones distending and cracking, can feel all of the blood, can feel the tether connecting the two of them, can feel everything, anything, all of him, there and not there. They understand, I think, if you'll allow it, Connie. They know that they tried. They tried to accept keepership, and it was too far gone. They can smell it in the blood. They can taste it in their mouth. They know how deep the corruption runs, all the way down to the soul. And these two feelings rise up in their chest. Sen, change, desperate, violent, everything. And it's Cillian pulling at mother's blood, corruption, their own death, the way that their soul shattered. They're a necromancer, perhaps the finest necromancer Endake has ever seen. When somebody dies, mind, body, and soul for a moment split. Soul goes to the after, body stays, mind becomes nebulous. Jaran Cotter is tangled with Mother's blessing, but maybe, just maybe, in the moment of death he wouldn't be. So Oka leans their head forward, and they peek over their shoulder. They see Cain, they see Citlalli, they see Gentle. They hear this howl like rising up above the fever pitch. They turn back to Jaran. Can you hear them calling us home?
I think you hear a growl in your ear, low and resonant. But when you look at them, they blink all of the eyes at once, and a couple of them change.
And I think that's perfectly in tandem for when Oka blinks, and their god eye also mirrors Jaran's. And I'm going to use my time stop feature as everything just kind of slows down. Oka takes the hilt of Dream Hunter. Death is not the end, Jaran Cotter. I love you. And they are going to stab him in the heart. Deep. All the way down to the hilt. And I'll roll. I'm going to use both my attacks at once, if that's okay.
Yep, just see if you get that crit.
I got the crit! I got that 20! I got that 20! I'm gonna use my advantage on my first attack, just because. My advantage from Voska, just because. I fucking did it again! I fucking swear to you! I fucking swear to you! For a second, that's 20!
fucking wins!
Oh my fucking god! Fucking way!
Love fucking wins, Connie. It's a threat and a promise.
Take a picture. Take a picture. What? The Oka dice at this crucial
I'm literally
moment.
shaking. I'm standing up. I'm out of my chair. Okay. That's over 200 points of damage. Somewhere in the 270 points range. As I think, if you'll allow it, as Dream Hunter punches through, on the other side of this monstrous form of Jaran, I'm in a lunge position now, I can't sit. On the other form of this monstrous Jaran, the Tempest, the Storm Wolf, explodes out of their back with Jaran's heart in its mouth. And it pulls around like this huge storm, swirling and circling, and explodes into Oka's back as the halos click, and time comes back to itself. And they hold Jaran Cotter's heart in their hand. And they pray. For the first time in decades, Oka prays for him to stay. That's my turn.
See, what the fuck? Oka, make a Constitution saving throw for me.
I maybe should have saved that. Sorry, I'm still freaking out. I should have saved that advantage. That's a 10 total.
As the beast form sloughs off of Jaran's body, as Jaran Kader dies, Mother's blessing begins to, I think, flake off of him and onto you, and like slough off of you on like toward the ground in a puddle. And as it like ekes across your skin, you are going to take 140 points of necrotic damage from the fallout.
That's fine. Oka stands there as the blood comes down, and they let it rain on them.
You can feel Sen inside your body swelling with pride and pain. The pride so enormous that it dwarfs the wound, the hurt. And then we pan over to Jaran. Jaran, I think that amount of damage is enough to insta-kill you.
It is. I have max 150 HP in this form.
That's true, and I think I don't even need to calculate it. With max damage plus 2 crits, that's over 300 points of damage from Oka. So that is an insta-kill. So Jaran Cotter, how do you die?
I think when Oka slipped Dream Hunter in between their ribs into their heart, like they're tucking a love letter into their pocket, he, instead of letting go like you normally would, feeling the pain of this magical sword literally kill them, I think Jaran clamps down even harder on Oka. One last attempt to be close to them, one last attempt to be together, knowing, I think, that he is going to die. And I think, Oka, when you see this Mother's blessing falling off of them, flaking off of their body, you start to see their monstrous form, I think, pull away and fade into itself. The 9 tails that they have start to come together into 8, 7, 6, all the way until it's single tail that looks exactly like the one that Jaran has. And their eyes start to blink, and as they close one by one, they all disappear until in your arms, on the ground, is Jaran, the person that you recognize, the person that you killed. And with his dying breath, heart ripped out of his chest, Jaran looks up at you, Oka, and there's peace on his face. He smiles at you, says, "Thank you, my wolf. I will never leave you," before he dies.
Jaran Cotter. Death is a funny thing. Oka's right. The mind splinters from the body, splinters from the soul. And you, no keeper as you are, can feel that soul beginning to drift upward and outward. It's peculiar. It's like you're in your body looking at Oka and you're above Oka looking at your body. It's like you're in your mind perceiving the blood, the smell of ash, the screaming voices of soldiers, the claying of steel on flesh, on bone, rending hair, skin, teeth, lungs. And it's like you're inside your soul and outside of your soul at the same time. Death is a conglomeration of hypocrisy. It is diametrically opposed ideas and embodiments holding on at once. And then it starts to not hold. And in that moment, you feel them. Skad and Nectus. Somewhere in this miasma, in this soup of entropy and life and death and wound and blood and gristle and bone and hope and love, you feel the gods. As your soul deviates, separates from the mother's blessing that shatters off of it, that flakes off of it, like ink flaking off of a brush as you whisk it around in clean water. You feel Skad and Nectus, outstretched hand, reaching toward you.
And Jaran moves forward immediately. No hesitation whatsoever.
And Jaran Cotter, what does it look like as your soul joins Skad and Nectus and turns you keeper?
If I may have my magical girl transformation moment. Jaran's outstretched hand, it's his prosthetic hand that he reaches out to grasp onto Skad and Nectus's own. And as he does that, I think they can see all of it, everything that they have been through. It has led them to this moment right here. This was where he was supposed to be all along, and they can feel it. And I think the magic of the weave of the god starts to move through them, and as if there was a gust of wind, I think his long white hair flows behind him and starts to braid itself together. And as it's braiding itself, you can see this maroon ornamental paranda start to weave itself into his hair, elongating the braid even further than it actually is, with silver coins forming and dangling at the end of it, each with Skad's on one side, Nectus on the other, sort of clanging and clinking together. And his clothes, I think, changed to be still the same sort of wintry palette of silvers and blues, the rosy threads that we recognize, but there's something Nabalian, I think, that gets added to this. Something about symmetry, something about patterns. You can see that his shirt has changed into this like sheer lace shirt that he is wearing with the embroidery of sort of like floral patterns, geometric shapes all around that is quite literally spilling off of the fabric. The embroidery starts to come off and it starts to sort of like move away, and it's like constantly flowing out as if there's a never-ending thread that is putting his clothes together. And you can see that he has these leather straps sort of like all over his body, harnesses, chest harness, a leg harness, sort of putting it all together. The way that you would imagine a dominatrix meets like a royal, meeting a royal dignitary is the best way that I can describe the way that it looks. And to top it all off, Jaran has this like one-shouldered dupatta that kind of like hangs off like a cape with the same flowing embroidery hanging off of their shoulder, as they become the keeper of Skad and Nectus.
Magic washes over your body, cradled by Oka. Still, I think, simmering in a puddle of that mother's blessing around your legs and feet. Magic washes over your corpse and ripples down it in sparks of purple and green and red. And as it washes down, we see these changes, I think, like rotting themselves over your form, the hair, the dupatta, like every aspect of it, the holster, everything. And your soul, which is above your body and also in it and also outside of it at the same time, you feel it sort of move backward, even though you're trying to move forward, it's almost like you're going toward a light, but you're like, the more you struggle toward it, the more you're like pulled back into a warm embrace of darkness. Your soul goes warm. And Vasanti, your keeper pendant, up until now unclaimed, goes warm as well, as Jaran Kader's soul takes residence, just like it had been planned by the Paragons and the Keepers. And on that, we're gonna cut to break. So everyone, thank you so much for tuning in to the first half of Arc 8, Episode 5 of Transplanar RPG. We'll be back in 10 minutes. Enjoy the music. Shbijo, bijo.
Hi everyone, I'm Dare. I play everyone's favorite monk, tea drinker, and keeper of Nitbuza, Gentle. Thanks to our friends at Bears Games, I'm here to tell you about some of my lesser known projects. First off, did you know that I make music? If you go to daretodreamrpg.bandcamp.com, you can find my first album, Cyberpunk Funk. It's an album full of beeps and boops and pops, and it's good music to listen to while you work. If you want to see me on a couple of other shows, be sure to check me out Monday, February 6th, over on Total Party Chill, where I'll be playing Unincorporated for Black History Month at 7 PST. It's going to be a lot of fun and a lot of mess. On Tuesdays, you can find me playing some old school D&D over at twitch.tv/enpublishing, where we're playing a modern version of a classic Dragonlance campaign. It's at 2 p.m. EST every Tuesday, and I've been having a blast. So please, if you have time, come check it out. Wednesday the 8th is my birthday, so be sure, just give me all the love. You know where to find me, and that's the entire reason why I took the ad spot this week. It's just so I can say, Wednesday is my birthday, so love me. And last but not least, if you're also tired of hearing about a certain wizarding world, you're in luck, because I'm going to be playing some Kids on Brooms Friday, February 10th at 7 p.m. Eastern, and I'm going to be raising money for Trans Lifeline with a bunch of incredible people, including our artist Lynn over at Gremlin Art. So once again, thank you all for watching, and please enjoy the rest of the ride. It goes a lot of places. It's going to be really beautiful. Take care. Hi everyone, I'm Dare. I play everyone's favorite monk, tea drinker, and keeper of Nitbusa, Gentle. Thanks to our friends at Bears Games, I'm here to tell you about some of my lesser known projects. First off, did you know that I make music? If you go to daretodreamrpg.bandcamp.com, you can find my first album, Cyberpunk Funk. It's an album full of beeps and boops and pops, and it's good music to listen to while you work. If you want to see me on a couple of other shows, be sure to check me out Monday, February 6th, over on Total Party Chill, where I'll be playing Unincorporated for Black History Month at 7 PST. It's going to be a lot of fun and a lot of mess. On Tuesdays, you can find me playing some old school D&D over at twitch.tv/enpublishing, where we're playing a modern version of a classic Dragonlance campaign. It's at 2 p.m. EST every Tuesday, and I've been having a blast. So please, if you have time, come check it out. Wednesday the 8th is my birthday, so be sure, just give me all the love. You know where to find me, and that's the entire reason why I took the ad spot this week. It's just so I can say, Wednesday is my birthday, so love me. And last but not least, if you're also tired of hearing about a certain wizarding world, you're in luck, because I'm going to be playing some Kids on Brooms Friday, February 10th at 7 p.m. Eastern, and I'm going to be raising money for Trans Lifeline with a bunch of incredible people, including our artist Lynn over at Gremlin Art. So once again, thank you all for watching, and please enjoy the rest of the ride. It goes a lot of places, and it's going to be really beautiful. Take care.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Arc 8, Episode 5 of Transplanar RPG presents The Second Stranger. Let's get right back into things after break. Some content warnings for this episode and our campaign in general may include fantasy violence, apocalypse, trauma and grief, depictions of war, body horror, gore, blood and bloodletting, death of loved ones, familial struggles, complex and complicated relationships, romance and references to sexual entanglements, monsters and monstrosity, and eldritch abominations. So use !CW at any time for a full list of our content warnings and !safety for a look at the cast's lines and veils to know what territory we won't get into, no matter how dark things get. Ooh, okay, so with that out of the way, my friends, let's hop right back into the session. Slowly, gently, like a maestro sliding fingers down a scale, Oblivion floats onto the ground. Their feet touch the blood-splattered, white ash-strewn rock of the Badlands. Their hair is a fury of gold, their eyes shrapnel blue. She looks mildly annoyed. A titan, several titans, charge her immediately. Full gigantic forms rippling like light on water, spiked clubs raised overhead, throats brimming with ancient war cries, and Oblivion flicks 2 fingers dismissively. And these titans turn to dust. And the breeze carries their desiccated echo across the battlefield. And also crossing the battlefield now is Oblivion, stepping delicately over corpses, over shattered hunks of rock, puddles of blood, both black and red, the fallen bodies of caravans, cannons, war machines. She picks her way across the bedlam with prim detachment. Her eyebrows are relaxed and still, her jaw unclenched, her gaze steady and focused. The violence, quite literally, doesn't touch her. The chaos of the battlefield bends around her, impossibly, like light bending around an anomaly. Her head twitches suddenly, like she's trying to exorcise a very persistent fly. So, this is the power of everything Andake has to offer. Your ancestors, your forgotten sibling realm, your gods. How touching. You know, I don't mind a heckler or two, an uninvited guest, but they better wipe their shoes. Or shall I remind them, and all of you, the kind of mud and filth and blood they've been trekking around. Your gods have hurt you, have failed you, have abandoned you, or have you forgotten? She raises her hand and snaps her fingers. And the 6 on the horizon turns to a 5. And the battlefield vanishes. Oka, Sitlali, you stand inside a literal mirror dimension. An endless expanse of your own glassy reflections shining infinitely into every direction. In every facet, every crack, you glimpse a different version of yourself. A different, splintered, bleeding timeline. Yourselves as children, round-faced and giggling, making angels in the snow. Yourselves as adolescents, awkwardly proportioned, all elbows and hormones sprouting into adulthood. Yourselves as you are now, scarred, radiant, broken, colorful and winged, impassioned and drained. Yourselves as you will be one day, older, grayer, wrinkled, pulled down by gravity and so many lifetimes of what could have been, what was, what never shall. Every iteration, every possibility, every age of your own identity fragmented into odd, unknowable angles. These reflections are you. Yes, but they're also not you. They're your own memories viewed through a foggy, broken mirror made by a seething, lonely hand. And as you turn and whirl and stagger within this dimension of endless mirrors, the infinite versions of yourselves coalesce like cards being shuffled into a single unstable form that peers back at you with a jagged silhouette and wide, puffy, crying, sobbing eyes. Yourselves as youths. Scared, hurt, friendless youths. We see a younger Citlalli curled up into a ball next to a younger Oka, doing the same. You can feel the pain of your shared broken childhoods seeping through the shattered glass, coloring you with scars into the people you are now. But those scars are still open. They're still bleeding. You see them leaching out of your pores in golden and crimson rivers, and you're still wounded. So in this mirror dimension, I want to know, what do the two of you say to these child versions of yourselves?
If it's okay with you, Connie and Quinn, I think maybe Oka and Sitlali are standing like back to back. And Oka leans their shoulders against Citlalli's where they can feel wings that could sprout, wings made of magic against their own. And they reach back and grab onto Citlalli's hand and squeeze just once before letting go and moving forward to their own mirror, where they kneel down, tilt their head a little bit, and they can feel tears on their cheeks mirrored in the tears on that Oka's cheeks. And they say, Hey.
What do you want?
I'm just a friend. Here to, I don't know, sit with you. It's never good to cry alone.
You just sitting here, think that's gonna make me feel better? I've been alone all this time, even though I have sisters and a mom and a mother, father. There's something
so different about me, about us. I just don't like who I am. I don't fit in.
That's okay. Why do you have to fit in?
Because it hurts not to fit in, not to be the perfect prince, not to be the perfect older sibling, the perfect child. It hurts, and I hurt other people, and that's all I'm good for.
That's not true. It's not. That's not all you're good for. Inside of you, there's endless possibility. Everyone has the propensity to change. Anyone can change. So you can be whatever you need to be. You can be alone. You can pretend to be perfect. You can be angry and you can cry. You're allowed. You can do all these things, but you can also change. You're allowed to smile. You're allowed to make friends with people you don't expect. You're allowed to fight and to hurt and to get your heart broken and to break other people's hearts. And you're allowed to be a monster and a ghost, and you're allowed to grow. You can do all of that. You can be all of that. It doesn't mean you're bad. Bad is not a thing somebody can be. It's a choice. So you get to decide. What are you going to choose?
Citlalli, your back pressed against Oka's, you see yourself huddled up as a child inside one of these millions, infinite reflections of yourself. What do you say to them, even as Oka talks to themselves?
I think Citlalli watches for a little bit. I think Citlalli at first is a little overwhelmed, which doesn't happen very easily or very often. And I think they fight the urge to turn around like they did before, back in Jukai. And I think they manage just barely, like that time, to not turn around. And they take a couple of halting steps forward. And they just kind of awkwardly, sit. They start to kneel and then they just sit. They just sit. On their ass, on the ground. This is happening. Okay. And I think they reach out and they, tap on the mirror, a little bit. To try and get baby Citlalli's attention.
Baby Citlalli, similar to baby Oka, is kind of huddled up with their knees drawn up to their chest. Their face down, so you can't fully see their expression, but their shoulders are quivering. Hair falling into their face. Go away. I don't want to look at you. I don't want to look at me.
Yeah, that sounds like something I would say. Fuck. Oh, you're a kid, I shouldn't. Well, but you're me, so whatever. I mean, you could close your eyes and, still look at me and talk to me, I guess.
What do you want?
Your mother doesn't tell you that she's proud of you, does she?
And why would she? Does she have anything to be proud of?
Yes. And it's her loss that she doesn't see it.
That causes baby Citlalli to peer up through the pastel bangs and look at you with those big yet small watery eyes. What do you mean by that?
She has plans and ambitions that used to be hers that she's thrust onto you. and you're exceeding them, and she can't admit that because she's jealous. And that's a lot to unpack. That's a lot to put on a child, so I'm not having children. It's not fair to you to put those expectations on you, things you didn't necessarily want, but you happen to be very good at. It's okay to take a break, I'm told. No, yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it's okay to take a break. It's okay to take a break. And I think Citlalli is also realizing this at the same time as they're saying it. They're like, it's okay to take a break. Because you don't have to be everything for everyone anymore. You're enough as you are, as yourself. You're enough.
But if I take a break, if I stop, then what if I fail? What if I miss something? And what if because of me everything fails and everything goes wrong and everything goes bad, and it's because I didn't do enough, I didn't look enough, I didn't study hard enough, I didn't.
What if? That's all you can think about, right? Yeah, that doesn't go away. But you are gonna get better at knowing when to entertain the what ifs, as opposed to letting the what ifs reduce you to a pile on the floor.
Like now?
Like now.
So, what do I do if I don't want to feel like this anymore?
You gotta go be yourself. You gotta go figure out who that is. Right now you're your mother's child. Maybe you need to leave and figure out who you are. On your own terms.
Am I gonna like who I turn out to be?
Yeah, I think you are.
And I think simultaneously, baby Citlalli and baby Oka, on opposite sides of the mirror realm, stand up. They uncurl from the little balls that they've been holding so closely, so frightfully to their chests, and they rise to their full, 4 feet, 5 feet of height, and look up at each of you. And Citlalli, you see your own eyes brimming with tears still, but now hands reaching up to wipe them, sniffling, adjusting the hair, looking at you up and down, not judgmentally or fearfully like they once did, peering through those bangs, but almost with a new kind of understanding perspective. And Oka, you see that too. You see the younger you with long black hair, perfectly braided, right? A perfect dueling sword at their hip, squaring their own hips in a perfect dueling stance, and then looking at you, allowing that stance to relax into something a bit more casual, a bit less guarded and careful all the time. And the younger Oka, their eyes are no longer smoldering upon you with regret and burden and stress, but almost a kind of excitement, looking at you at who they could one day become, embracing the monster instead of trying to hunt it down inside of themselves and kill it. And then both of you, or rather all 4 of you, simultaneously hear a familiar voice, brimming out through the cracks in the mirrors, singing outward from the blood and the golden divinity leaching from your pores. Sen's voice.
Shuhai and I, we couldn't fix the cataclysm. We were stuck in it. Stuck in our wound, in our perceived failure, in our regret. And then you came along, Oka. You and Citlalli. The 2 of you showed me that we could change, and we showed you the same.
and appearing in every mirror shard, every reflection, a rabbit, a fox, a wolf, a goat, a horse, a person, a ghost, a demon, an angel, all these myriad forms of Sen blooming upward behind each of your child selves, standing there as though to reassure them.
We already know what the worst could be, don't we? We've already lived it. We're in it. But the worst is boring. The worst is easy. So why not hope and fight for the best that's yet to come?
And all at once, just like that deck of cards again, all these forms of Sen shuffle into the same silhouette and ripples into being in front of the two of you. Actual tangible forms, and we see a rabbit with antlers. And then the rabbit turns and we see a fox with antlers, and the fox turns and we see a rabbit and a fox both. Antlers on either side of its red-furred, white-furred face.
Come. Our friends need us, don't they?
And Oka takes Citlalli's hand again. And before they go through the mirror together, Oka over their shoulder goes, "You're gonna be okay. I love you." And they're talking to their younger self, they're talking to Citlalli's younger self, and they're talking to Citlalli. And they're talking to everyone. And they step through the mirror.
And as the two of you step through the mirror, that feeling of love, compassion for yourself, and determination for the future carries you forward into a new space. We wipe away from this scene to Dewey. Dewey, you stand in the middle of a field. Grass rolls beneath your feet. In the distance, you perceive mountains stretching gray peaks toward a quite rapidly darkening sky. In this field, there is a cottage. You're standing on its front porch. It's a familiar cottage, actually, Nabalian in design, with stone shingles and wooden poles. You recognize it pretty immediately. It's Ualani's home, Hana's home, and once upon a time, it was your home. And through the glass window, you see silhouettes moving. You hear two voices, a child's laugh, a woman singing. There's something else here, too, Dewey. Something smoldering in this vast field. It's a gur, half constructed, or perhaps half destroyed. Its wooden bones exposed. It's on fire. Smoke, hot and scentless, vent infinitely into the dimming sky. Sitting in the middle of this gur, untouched by the flames, but surrounded by this inferno, are several women. Some of them you actually recognize, Selim, Abiku. Some of them you don't. And standing at the threshold of this burning gur is Taktoa. In one hand, she clutches a bridle, though there's no horse around. And in the other hand, she clutches a lit match. And Dewey, you and Taktoa, I think you notice each other at the same time, and her steely eyes fix on you, take in the cottage behind you, the forms inside, the dark glass, and for the first time since you've known her, since you've met her, Dewey, you see her gaze waver. What is this place? Cardew, Dewey, we should run. We should leave this place. We should get out of here. If we run, maybe we'll survive. Maybe we'll live. If we stay. And her sentence trails off, but her eyes drift westward, where you see a blanket of darkness, of oblivion, beginning to fold over the horizon, approaching both the homestead and the gur, vanishing the light. What do you do?
Dewey says, Did you light that place on fire?
And she looks back at the gur, looks down at the lit match in her hand. I must have. We were on the battlefield and then we were here and... Yeah, this must have been me.
It's okay. It doesn't matter what you did in the past. We have to stay here and fight for them.
Stay? No, don't you see the darkness? We have to run. We have to get out of here.
No more running. This isn't who you are.
Dewey, Quirk, I have never once in my life run from a fist fight. I've never, ever turned my back on war, on battle, on violence, but, and she trails off looking at the women in this burning gur that she had set on fire. It's so hard to stay, Dewey. I don't even know what to say to them, much less what to do. What would you say to them? And she gestures at the cottage, at the voices inside.
All I know is that I love them. And take it from someone who has run away from this many, many times in my life. No more running.
Fear and resolve flashes through Toktoa's eyes. And she looks like she wants to run, but her feet don't move. She squares her posture to look at you. And as soon as she does, I think that darkness is like upon you. It eats the field, it eats the sky, it eats the grass, it eats the cottage, it eats the gur, it eats the flames. And you're scared. I think there's a part of you that fears it's gonna eat you too. And then comes the light. Burning, bubbling, thrumming, humming in your chest and Toktoa's twin points of sunlight. And Galtanger, I think, balloons outward from both of your sternums and lights up like a flare in the darkness. And both of you hear her voice, galloping like hooves across an open field, pounding through this air, roaring outward, say, "Fear once drove everything I did. My hooves fleeing my heart, pumping in escape my blood, golden like running sunlight. No more shall I yield into void, shall I collapse inward like dying star, shall I flee from the long unyielding dark, and neither shall you." And the light explodes so bright that it pierces your eyes, and yet you see, Dewey. And on the light ballooning outward, we cut to Abiku. Abiku, you're lying down on something semi-soft, semi-cold. The starless sky winks above you, shot through with veins of purple cloud. The smell of dirt fills your nostrils. I think at this moment you realize you're lying prone in a hole of some sort, a rectangular one, let's say, about 6 feet deep, the perfect length and width of your body. As I think you instinctively push yourself to a stand, kind of clamber out, dirt cascades from your shoulders and pebble onto the ground. You're in a graveyard. Somewhere, somehow, a river gurgles. The crooked fingers of cypress trees and willow tears obscure the horizon. Your tombstone has your name etched in it, in Ba, but it's been struck out, like you have not been afforded your final rest. Deep gouge marks mar that rock. And as you look around and take in this space, you recognize some of the names on some of the other graves. Captain Law, Queen Undu, the members of your artillery team, Jam, Yuriko, Shrinyi. There's a noise, I think, intercepting this, like a gasp, and then a scrabble, and then emerging from an adjacent grave next to yours is Rev. She sort of pulls herself in a single clambering motion out of the hole and wobbles to an unsteady stand, grave dirt cascading off her shoulders as well. And her mismatched eyes fall on you, widen, and then fall onto a grave nearby with a name that isn't one of yours. Leaf Dream Eye. And Rev falls to her knees in front of this grave and clenches her fingers into tight fists on top of her thighs.
I go over, I sit down next to her. If she lets me, I'll put a hand on her back. I assume this was somebody you knew? These are all people I knew.
I hate this about myself, Abiku. I hate that I know exactly what Oblivion is trying to do here, but I can't help but fall for it. Over and over and over again, tripping into my own grave.
And I look back at the graves. Oh, is this... Okay, so this is like a trick someone's played before.
In another way, in another life, in another time. Yes.
Well, just because you know it is a trick, it doesn't make it hurtless. That's why it's a very good trick. What are they trying to do to us?
Can't you see, Abiku? Why am I? Why are you? Why are we still here? Why are we still here? Revenants, zombies, ghosts. But they're gone.
You know, I spent a lot of time thinking about that. I'm sure you've spent even more time thinking about it. You've been up longer than I have, but at the end of the day, I don't know that it matters. What matters is that we're here and we can help people.
And what if the greatest help I can give anyone is to walk willingly into that void so everyone else can live?
If that is what you think you need to do, I am not you, Rev, and I cannot be you, the same way you cannot be me. And I will not sit here and tell you how you can and cannot live, or should or should not choose to walk into that void, but what I can say is that a lot of people love you. I am one of them. You are very good at swinging your scythe. I am still getting the hang of it. And for now, they need us.
I'm scared, Abiku. Not of dying. I've never been scared of dying. Not even of nothingness, I think. I'm scared of living past this. Because I miss her, Abiku. And she looks back at the gravestone marked with Leaf's name. Every day. It doesn't get easier. The grief doesn't get smaller. I just grow around it. So, if we win, if I live, if we all live, I don't know if I can handle all of this grief all the time.
Can I tell you something?
Of course.
When I was alive, my father died in the war, and I didn't think I would ever get over it, and to be honest, I didn't when I was alive, and then I came back, and I didn't remember, and then I remembered. And it is always there, and I won't lie and say it can magically go away, or anything like that outside of something very bad that makes you forget, which is not what you want. It is important to carry it with you because it helps you take a next step forward. I'm sure your time with her helps you with your time with Vasanti.
These ghosts we carry on our shoulders hurt, Abiku, but maybe it's something I should stop trying to run away from. Fuck, it's gonna hurt like a motherfucker, isn't it?
Yes, but... And Abiku stands up and puts a hand down towards Rev. We are pretty strong people.
Rev looks up at you, looks at your hand, looks back down at the grave with Leaf and the open grave of hers next to it. Seems like she's considering the two, lying back down or getting up. And then she clasps her hand around your forearm and lets you pull her up to a full stand.
And as that happens, we hear like the fluttering of raven's wings all around the two of you, like the whispering of a bird song and wind and breeze gusting around this graveyard. And the two of you hear the Raven Queen's voice, that whispering, radiant, darkly lucent divinity as always say,
"My children, my friends, life and death are faces of the same coin. You are not so far removed from the ones you have loved and lost. What binds you, what transcends all planes, all universes, Abiku is right, is love. Revenant, my dear sweet mist, you and I have been misguided. Throwing ourselves into the void will not bring them back. Not Leaf, not Drusba, not my Fox King. Perhaps the way to honor them, as Abiku says, is not to die, but to live despite."
and the wind and the flutter of raven wings cascades upward, parting the crooked fingers of cypress trees, revealing now a star-strewn sky, and we cut to Gentle and Voska. The two of you stand in a frigid cavern, the cold taunt of the ice settling deep into your bones. This bite is chilly, even by Morozan standards, and the two of you are standing elevated on a dais. Frozen teeth of stalagmites punch upward from the ground, and stalactites drip downward from the ceiling. There are no tunnels here, no entrances, no exits, no points of ingress or egress, just you, just them, and just the threads. Golden threads radiate outward from your bodies, haloed in somber light. Each thread hangs with a different weight. Some are thicker, others multicolored, still others weightless, like air, like breath. You recognize, both of you, instinctively what they are. These are the bonds that tie you to your friends. You feel their presence thrumming within the delicate weave of each thread. Oka, Vasanti, Dewey, Rev, Abiku, Sun, Mercy, Citlalli, Dr. Aluso, Squeak, Costas, Root, Wu Ming, Bud, Atalanta. As each presence, each name, each loved one registers on your hearts, you feel the threads begin to pull. Pulling, tugging, heaving at your souls in opposed myriad directions, like you're both pieces of yarn being picked apart by many greedy hands into nothingness. All of these obligations, all of these ties, these burdens, these duties, these guilts, these loves, they pull at the two of you, threatening to unravel not only themselves, but you. What do the two of you do?
I think, Gentle, if you would so allow, Voska clings to you. I think, like, as these threads begin to, like, threaten to unravel the both of us, there's, like, this gut instinct of, like, holding onto your forearms as we're being pulled to opposite sides. Gentle, wait! And she just holds onto you, and she's just trying to, like, figure out where we are before. Moments before, we were just in a battlefield, and she is just trying to, like, look around to figure a way out.
I don't know, but be okay. We'll be okay. We'll be okay. I got you. You got me, right?
I got you. I have you. And I think as Voska is gripping onto you, Gentle, she is glitching out. Like, there's, like, moments where, like, a reaction was meant to happen, but it just glitches out, and you could almost swear maybe a shadow of a chuckle, but it's, like, immediately snuffed out like a candle in the wind. And she says, "This is so ironic. I spent so long hiding behind beautiful words. What a beautiful lie. I unraveled during the cataclysm. I unraveled when I left Atalanta. I unraveled at the unspooling. I unraveled at Atalanta's death. Until all I had keeping me taut was my destiny. And again, there's that, like, shadow and a glitch. And even that was a lie. Beautiful words masquerading behind Oblivion's machinations. And here it is, happening again. Poetic irony. And I think each time she says that, the chuckle is, like, slightly more heard.
I understand that all too well. You had words, I had, well, a mask. Every time I felt I was going to lose it all and break down, I had to keep going because, well, someone else is breaking down. Whether that be the hounds or Bud or anyone, everyone, any excuse to worry about anyone who wasn't me. I know that all too well.
And I think, like, at that point, there's like a hum that Voska recognizes of the temptation of Atalanta's embrace that pulls at her more strongly and resonantly than every other thing here. I miss her. And I don't think there's anything or anyone on this world that can fix that.
That's incredibly fair. I never really lost anyone like that. I don't know. I've always been apart from people, but I know what it's like to have people you care for more than anything else, and the best we can do is keep going for them. We have to help save the world, and there's always more time to think and have memories of her.
I think, as you say, we have to save the world. Voska reaches out, if you would allow her, and holds your cheek. She says, "No, we want to save the world."
Yeah.
You and I side by side.
Of course.
And I think wrapping around the two of you as you touch each other, hold on to each other, look at each other, and feel, I think, steady in your belief in each other. These pulling threads, these grabbing binds, slacken. And there's, I think, a relief that courses through both of your bodies as these threads slacken, and the thing wrapping around the two of you is a voice, you realize, a thread, a song, a god's throat. And Nitbuza says, her voice echoing in this chamber, echoing through the vast caverns of both of your consciousnesses. Yes, there are burdens. There are guilts. There are unspoken harms and resentments and angers in every bond that connects us to each other. But there are also joys. There are strengths. There are loves and laughters and music. We do not unweave the good from the bad. We do not sever ties because the weight is too heavy. These bonds bind, yes, but they also heal. They also lift. And like a wind, an icy wind that doesn't chill either of you, sweeps up through this cavern, and you see light, almost like the pinpricks of stars, begin to blossom up on the ceiling of this space. And I think streaming in through the light are two new strands that are a different color, a different make, a different size than the other threads binding you to other people, because these threads feel desperately familiar. They're parts of you. One of these threads drifts down to Voska and the other drifts down to Gentle. And as it drifts down into your hands, Voska, you feel, I think, a gurgling of laughter, a peal of humor bubble up inside you.
And she just wraps her arms around Gentle as her giggles bubble up like sea foam.
I love that. And Gentle, the other thread drifting down into your embrace, fills you with this kind of warm, fuzzy, open-widedness. Like suddenly you're noticing the stalactites, you're noticing the ice rhyming on the pillars, you're noticing Nibuse's voice taking on a timbre you've never really heard it take on before.
Did you mention stars as well at one point? Yeah, I think the star is what does it. As Gentle moves to tears at seeing and being able to appreciate the beauty of all of this again. This is what I want to fight for. This, us, everyone.
On that, I think Nibuse's bonds wrapping tight around the two of you, the lights becoming wider, 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 this cavernous sky opening up with pinpricks of astronomy. We cut to Jaran and Vasanti. The two of you sit on the same side of a long wooden table. A jungle ripples around the two of you, its edges blurring like heat vibrating off the surface of pavement. An emerald inferno. Imaginary and real. Across this mahogany grain, across this table that looks plucked out of a beautiful office and placed in the midst of wilderness, there are two chairs. One chair facing each of you. Jaran, in the chair across from you, is Adam. He's smiling. His expression is dark. His hand is outstretched in some kind of malignant offer across the table to you, and in the chair across from Vasanti is Jaran. Tawny skin, hair slicked back, eyes burning and so condescending. His cheekbones, Vasanti, are slanted like yours, his skin pebbled in the same manner around the eyes, the throat, the forehead. As you look at him, I think you see so much of yourself in him. Those are the parts, for some reason, in this space that you focus on. Vaguely, like an echo, like the memory of a ghost, both of you hear carnival music. The synthetic fizzling of overlapping holographic faces, the creaking of a Ferris wheel. The two of you stare dead into the eyes of the worst choices you've ever made. The worst risks, the worst rewards, the worst flaws, the worst parts of you. What do you do?
Vasanti looks across at Jaran, and then looks over at Adam, and then to her side to look at Jaran. I've been here before, Jaran.
I think Jaran's breath catches in his throat when he first sees Adam across the table from them. And they take in their surroundings, unfamiliar. They've never been here before. And they look over at Vasanti. Where are we?
Vasanti looks around again at everything. We're in the carnival. Where everything you've ever hated about yourself comes to find you.
And them? Jaran looks over at Adam, at Jaran. And without breaking eye contact from Adam, says over to Vasanti. Are they real?
No, they're not real. They're simply your greatest fears, looking at you directly in the face.
And Tyrion and Adam say in chorus, neither of their gazes straying from the faces that they're taunting, their voices rising in a dissonant harmony. Just because we're not real doesn't make us not true. We are you. You are us. You are never anything but the worst parts of yourself.
I think Jaran feels the same path lay out before him. The same one from Dabathati, the same one that he's been on this whole time. And in this forest, it feels like the well-trodden path. It feels like the easy way out, to just do it again, to extend their hand, make the deal again. But as Jaran, I think, goes to lift their hand, as if to shake Adam's own, I think they hesitate and they feel something almost like tugging them back. Is it the blood tether to Oka? Is it this tether to Scott and Nectis? Is it the bond to Vasanti? He's not quite sure, but there's something pulling him back. And I think instead, he reaches out his hand over to Vasanti.
At the same time that Jaran is seeing that path, I think Vasanti is seeing 100 and some years of being truly alone in Ndake. The amount of decades of searching for her father, for searching for family, for searching for people that she feels like she can trust. And she looks across at Tyrion and feeling almost that same pull to Jaran through Scott and Nectis and through their own bond. I think Vasanti realizes that she's found what she's always been looking for. And one of those things is friendship. And she looks at Jaran and sees that friendship so clearly manifested through where they were at the beginning of their relationship together to where they are now. And Vasanti extends her hand and grasps Jaran's.
No more uncalculated risks. I think it's time that we reap the rewards. What do you say?
No more trying to do it alone. We do it together.
Together.
And these images of Tyrion and Adam fizzle, they snarl, they glitch like ghosts caught in static, like they're trying to fight it, but then they holographically shimmer away and bleeding into their places, replacing them are Ravi across from Jaran, as grizzled and scarred the day she died, and across from you, Vasanti, your mother, Paya. Ravi looks you square in the face, Jaran, and you see not anger, not resentment, not bitterness, but just a kind of open, staunch understanding. And as Ravi speaks, her voice blends into Paya's, right? Ravi's grizzled tones melding into Paya's soft and high, gentle voice. This darkness will always be a part of both of you, but so will we. And then their voices sort of break apart, and Ravi looks at you directly, Jaran, and says, "You've still got a long way to being forgiven by my spirit, kid, but you're on the right path now."
I'm so sorry for everything, Ravi.
You better fucking be. Don't worry, kid. I know you are. You've already paid for it with your life. Good enough for me. And Paya looks at you, Vasanti, and you see her eyes are wet and bright and full of tears. Vasanti, you are everything I ever hoped you would be. I'm so proud of you.
Vasanti looks in her in the eyes and just tears starting to form down her own face. I'm so sorry that I never believed you in life, but I will always be so proud to be the daughter of Paya Nakshurzo.
And swelling up, the carnival music turns into a different song. The disjointed, grating accordion, like the kind of like seesawing jigsaw of the melody, turns into something beautiful and flowing and fluid and harmonic, and beams of light, green and purple and red, swirl around both of you. And we see the images fluttering in static around you. One of a half-elf with braided red hair, one of a lilac tiefling with a broken horn, swirling around the two of you. And Scott and Nectus say in unison,
"This darkness is not who we are, and we are not trapped. This darkness is one of many hands we have all ever been dealt. And like any hand, we will be dealt another. And so will you."
And Paya reaches across the table and holds your face in her hands, Vasanti. And she looks at you and she says, "You're ready." And you feel draconic magic surging through your body, Vasanti. What does it look like as you shift?
Oh my gosh. Ah! Oh my gosh. Vasanti's entire body just starts to grow and stretch out as her sort of, her face, her nose and everything just sort of elongates, and her mouth grows into this large entrapment of teeth, and fur and whiskers are sprouting out of her. Her mane of hair just seems to sprout all through her back until she's just covered in this draconic fur. Her red claw is turning real, and it's joined by another one in the other hand, and she's got another set of legs coming in the midpoint of her body as she just grows and sprouts these draconic wings that are just so massive to cover her weight to be able to fly in this form. And she just lets out this roar as her body's like scales and fur of greens, purples, reds, and also sort of like this base of icy blue and I guess more of that Kelly green shimmer to it that she's always had from day one of meeting her.
I love that. As you explode into your full draconic form, I think Jaran is also swept up in this, not painfully, but you're like rising up next to Vasanti, I think, like surging out of this space as the forest clears, the night sky cracks open, and then exploding back onto the battlefield, folding into existence like ribbons of golden lace, are the 8 paragons and the 8 keepers. Each of you brims with divine energy, your god shards smoldering in your souls, not painfully, not desperately, not full of rage and grief and guilt and burden, but readily, looking stalwart, looking forward. The sky is crimson as always, that much is true. The eyes keep turning and roving, yes. Monsters snarl across the shattered stage, steel rings against flesh. Spectral titans clash against beasts of void flesh and void blood. Soldiers release clouds of arrows and bolts, and still, as the 16 of you arrive back on the scene, a massive cheer balloons up from the mouths of Endakin fighters. Swords are raised aloft, cannons explode and fire, draconic and gigantic mages bellow in their full, powerful forms. And now we see Oblivion. She's taken up residence on the shattered stage amidst this careening, exploding arena. She stands on the shattered slats of wood, fingers threaded together underneath her chin, in a perfect study of a contemplative Dr. Eluso. But there is an expression that hangs wrong on the good doctor's face as the 16 of you appear. An expression of anger, dark and sharp like an assassin's blade. Oblivion closes her eyes suddenly, squeezing them shut like she's trying to stave off a migraine. And when she opens her eyes again, we see the irises flicker briefly from brown back to blue. And that angry expression has smoothed over like fillings in a wound. The 16 of you really are so persistent, aren't you? You really do have such awful timing. I was just about to put the pesky doctor to bed. She pauses, takes in all of you, sees your forms brimming with godhood, brimming with confidence, with a kind of backbone, a kind of growth, a kind of courage and morale that all of you into it she had not been expecting when she flung you out of space and time. And then that look of anger, I think, crinkles past the fillings of the wound and darkens her brow once more. Oh, I see. Going off script, are we? Rallying in the final hour. Don't you all know? Annihilation goes down so much easier when you don't resist. Please. And that please almost sounds genuine. Don't take this from me. It's all I have. It's all I've ever had. But you won't understand, will you? You still think there's hope, don't you? Well, if I can't put the good doctor to bed right now, perhaps I can put that misconception down instead. I'm done playing games. Good night, Paragons. Good night, Keepers. Good night, Endake. We've had a good run. Oblivion raises her hand and snaps. And that big glowing 5 in the sky turns to a 4, turns to a 3, turns to a 2, turns to a 1. And we're gonna end the session there. So thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in to Arc 5, Episode 8 of Transplanar RPGs The Second Stranger. I have been your GM and executive producer, Connie. My pronouns are they, he, and she. You can find me all across the internet at Bye Connie Chung, BYCONNIECHANG. I'm going to pass along introductions up and over to Austin.
Hey, what's up, buddy? My name's Austin. You know me on Twitter at Sailor Scout Austin, at Sailor SCT Austin. My pronouns are he, they, she. I just played Abiku, been a good arc, I guess, everybody, Ishtar. And I'll see you next week? Question mark? Valiant Dorian?
Don't throw it to me like that. Hi everyone, I'm Valiant Dorian. Fuck, okay. I use he, him, his pronouns. But Twitch writing streamer, TTRPG performer, GM, and writer. You can find me all around the internet at Valiant Dorian or at Also Spirit Rev. Please enjoy that lovely treasure hunt I just sent you on. And tonight I played Voska, Paragon, and Abusa, who's ready to unravel maybe in a good way. Who uses she, they pronouns. I'm gonna pass introductions over to Dare.
Hi, I'm Dare. Pronouns, she, they, they. Thank you all for being here. I do appreciate it. I'm terrified of what's coming next, but you can find me on all parts of the internet over at Dare to Dream RPG. That is DARE, the number 2, DREAM RPG. This is how I remember how to spell my own name. And yeah, I'm just going to throw it over to Eric.
Hi everybody, I'm Erica, she, her pronouns, and I played Vasanti, Dragon Girl, not sure, so excited, but terrified for what's about to happen. You can find me here on Twitch at Erica Please, that's Erica PLZ, and you can find me on Twitter at Erica New Girl. Come watch me play a gay cowgirl sometime on Twitch. I'll pass it on to Quinn.
Hi, hello, I am Quinn, and my pronouns are they, them. I have been your resident Citlalli Thornheart today. I am an award-nominated TTRPG designer, sensitivity reader, and actual play performer. Buy my games, hire me to do things, you know the drill. Check me out on Twitter at Quintastic_. That's 3 N's and an underscore, because someone beat me to it. That's fine, I'm not bitter about it or anything. And I will pass it to Max.
Hey, I'm Max. My pronouns are they, them. I've played Dewey, pigeons confirmed vertebrates because he has a backbone quirk. You can find me on the internet at Starchmonger on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. I'll pass things to Hamna.
Yes, hi, hello. My name is Hamna. I use any and all pronouns, and I am a TTRPG performer. You can find me on Twitter at @shahid_, where I talk about all of the different projects I'm a part of. And today I have been Jaran, who uses they, he pronouns, our newly minted keeper of Skada Nectus. I'm dying. I will pass it up top to the boyfriend killer C.
Hi everyone, I'm the boyfriend killer C. I use they, them pronouns. You can find me making very trans, very gay art on the internet at PieSharpArt. Tonight I played this week's beloved unhinged necromancer Oka, who also uses they, them pronouns. I think I already said my Twitter. I've kind of forgotten though. The spiel just gets lost in my brain. But if you liked what I did here today, you'll like what I do other times. That is the best role I have ever had in any TTRPG ever. I can retire officially, except maybe Connie is retiring us. Point of contact starting next episode. But Connie, that's it. That's it for me. Go on.
Yes, what a great episode. We have 3 episodes left until the end of the main campaign. So please tune in next Saturday at 8 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time for the conclusion of everyone's lives of that cliffhanger. But in the meantime, we are going to be rating someone really awesome right now. No doubt, cost them a follow if you like their stuff. Tell them Transplanar sent you. Geek out about the end of this particular episode because I know I'll be geeking about it in chat. We love you so much. See you next Saturday. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your dogs, tell your cats, tell your birds, tell your amphibians, and Bijo.